All right, ladies and gents, welcome back. Smash Property Podcast. Today's a little bit different. We're riding solo. Kira will be joining on future episodes, so we may get into a bit of a rant territory with this one. But we're just going to go and see how this pans out. So today I want to talk about if you want a better life for yourself, but you're scared to start, or you're worried, or you're concerned, or you're like, I don't want to take that risk. This one's going to be for you. Because that was me, several years ago, but that was me for a very long time. And the life that I'm living now is so different to the life that I was living 5 years ago, and just mind-blowingly different to the life that I was living 15 years ago. And I want to share that with you because, you might see now, the social media stuff, the traveling, the cars, the holidays, all that sort of thing. But that's all bullshit at the end of the day. It's really how we got to this position. Because ultimately, here's the truth. Like if you have that dream and you have that goal and you're like, yeah, I'd love to get there, but you aren't doing anything about it, nothing's going to happen. Like if you're not doing anything now, what makes you think you're going to do something about it in the future? Waiting for things to change. Like if you want something now, if you want something in the future, you've got to start doing something about it now. That's just the reality of it, the cold, hard reality of it. So a little bit about my story. My parents migrated to this country. Wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Had a nice upbringing, like typical kind of middle class upbringing, I guess you could say. Born and raised in Campbelltown in Western Sydney. Then when I was about 9, we moved to country Victoria, a little town called Benalla. Beautiful part of the world. If you ever get a chance to go down to that part of the world, definitely do it. We lived in a bus when I was down there, and not a Winnebago motorhome, like an actual 1960s bus that had all the seats ripped out of it. My dad and I had fitted out the best we could, to live in it for a period of time. It was actually a couple of years. And that was, as a kid, pretty interesting, right? Because, I felt a certain way about it, and you can't really have friends over, and you sort of it was an interesting time. People always used that at school. Oh, do you live in a bus? And I was like real paranoid about it. Like, oh no, like I don't live in a bus. No, I'm like in year 6 or something, year 7. Started catching on a whole bunch of shit at school and getting in trouble. Drinking at I think I was in year 9. Started bringing alcohol to school, getting drunk at school, and then started escalating it. Then I got caught, got in trouble a bunch of times because of that. And then, my parents were separated, living with dad in Victoria. And then they were like, no, you got to go back to Sydney to sort your shit out. And my mum lived in Wahroonga in Sydney. So went back to there from Benalla, like little town in country Victoria, 10,000 people, to the North Shore in Sydney. Again, another huge contrast. Went to school in Terry Hills, a school called Northern Beaches Christian School. And hey, guess what? Started catching on a bunch of shit there too. And they were even more strict. I was getting suspended literally every single week. Like I would finish a suspension, get back and get suspended again for some other bullshit. And again, you started drinking, you start doing all those sorts of things, smoking ciggies. I was on a pack of Winnie Blues, a pack a day at like 17. And anyway, got to like first term of year 12 and was like, I can't fucking do it. I'm getting suspended every other week. My mind just wasn't there. I didn't give a shit about school or grades or uni or any of that shit. I was like, hey, I just want to go and earn money. I remember sitting down with my parents and ended up dropping out first term of year 12. And my parents obviously weren't too happy about that, but I'd said to them, hey, look, I just want to go and earn money. I don't give a shit about going to uni or school or anything like that. And this was in 2007, right? So it was at a time when uni was still like a thing. It was like a lot of people, majority of people went to uni. Nowadays, I think it's a little bit different, but back then it was like, oh, shock horror, you're not going to uni. And And then so I sort of had this self-imposed tag of this high school dropout, catching on a bunch of problems, and left first term of year 12. A couple of months later, got into a car accident because I was being a dickhead, drink driving. Crashed a VL Commodore with my friends in it. Obviously got arrested, got charged with drink driving, as I should have. Lost my license, as I should have. So now I'm a high school dropout with a drink driving record. I can't drive myself around. I can't drive to job interviews. I've got to, get public transport, all self-imposed, obviously. I remember, because I didn't have a uni degree, I didn't have year 12, I couldn't really get any serious jobs. I was bouncing around. I was a I was a background extra on Home and Away for a period of time because that paid really well. I filled potholes for Blacktown Council. I worked in retail. I was door knocking, selling Foxtel, doing a whole bunch of jobs just to try and get some money going and get a career going. And I just couldn't, so a couple of years went by and I'm still doing that same shit. Ended up getting into more trouble with the police at some point. It was 2009 by this point in time. And I'm like, fuck, I'm just going nowhere with this shit. I'm 2 years out of school. I'm seeing everyone sort of start businesses and get into careers and all this shit. And I'm just sitting here trying to earn 50 grand a year. That was my goal at the time, which was a decent-ish amount of coin, probably average amount of coin at the time. And I was just I just couldn't catch a fucking break. Everything I did, I was just getting in trouble. And obviously, I was going out partying, I was doing all sorts of stuff. And there was a lot of times when I just felt fucking hopeless. But I still had that burning thing inside me. I don't know what it was, where it was I knew I wanted something better, and I knew I was capable of it. That's the thing. I knew I was capable of doing something better. For some reason, I just couldn't connect the dots between where I was and where I wanted to be. And I just kept getting distracted with going out and partying and going away and doing all sorts of things. Every time I get money, I'd go, on a little holiday or whatever. And I was big into my cars, so I'd buy car parts and, spend a couple grand or get new wheels for the car or whatever. I just didn't have my head on straight. I think what the ultimate problem was. I wanted to do better, but I just didn't have my head on straight. And year after year went by. I had this thing where I'd apply for dozens of jobs on Seek every single day, and obviously wouldn't get anywhere because I'd just get rejections time after time. And I say that because I think it's important for the listener, for you listening, to see what my starting position was, right? Wouldn't say it was the worst of the worst, but it wasn't fucking great. Contrast now, I've got a $8 million plus portfolio, running a business, helping clients buy property. Have had now the better part of 2 decades career in banking, where I had moved up the corporate ladder pretty quickly. I mean, just look at my LinkedIn if you want to verify that, and see how many roles I had, and see the time span in how quickly I moved through those roles. Obviously increased my income to levels that during my corporate career I just never thought were possible. I mean, in the beginning, I was telling you a second ago, I was trying to earn 50 grand. Ended up getting it close to 350 grand by the time I'd left the corporate world, right? So and I say all this to you to give you that first starting point picture and where we sort of ended up, or at least this point in time. Because, and I'm not saying my position now is great. There's loads of people doing way better than I am, but I'm telling you this because from where I was and the shit that I was doing 15 years ago plus now to where I am now is a completely different story. So if you're there and you've got a decent job and you might be living at home, or maybe you've moved out and you're renting, but you're wanting to better your position, but you just have that fear or the unknown or something that's holding you back, that's all normal. But a lot of people just misunderstand that. And the fear is actually a sign of growth. It's not danger. Because every time I look back at all of the things that I've gone through and had to overcome, it's the fear that you have of something going wrong rarely, if ever, actually comes to fruition. The hardest part is actually just moving through and eliminating that fear that you have, whatever the fear is, and moving on with it. Because the thing is, at every stage that you get to, at every point, there's going to be a new fear unlocked. The fears I had 5, 10, 15 years ago are very different to the fears I've got today. The fears today are different because now you're running a business. Now there's different things to really consider, right? So I think one of the things that I've learned is that you never get rid of the fear. It's always there. So you're going to have to learn how to deal with it. And a lot of times, really just straight up just ignore it so you can just keep moving forward. Now, obviously, you don't want to be reckless and not consider anything that can go wrong. Consider it, but put a number to it. Right? If it's a fear of you running out of money, how long can you go without earning an income? If that's the fear, is it 1 day? Is it 3 months? Is it 3 years? Because then you can kind of put it into perspective, right? If it's a fear of buying a wrong property, what is it about? What does the wrong property mean? Fear of, are you scared the market's going to turn? Are you scared of buying in the wrong area? Are you scared a tenant's going to trash the property? Because there's lots of different fears that you can eliminate through various different means. So, it's really critical that you, if you want to put yourself in a better position and that fear is in the way, it's really critical that you silence that fear through rational thoughts. Because, through my journey, through my career, I had managed massive teams. I had, close to 300 people in my department that I was responsible for, right? So you speak with a lot of people, and obviously now through the business, speaking with a lot of people as well. A lot of people just stay stuck because they're content. It's like, oh yeah, I'd love to get the financial freedom, but I'm pretty happy right now. I used to hear that a lot. And then something bad happens, and then they're like, no, I'm going to quit this job. I'm not going to be here in the next 6 months. I'm going to be gone. Or no, I'm going to buy that property. Yeah, I'm going to do it now. Now's the time. 6 months later, 12 months later, you ask the same question. They're still in the same job. They haven't bought a property. Because they throw up all these bullshit excuses in front of themselves, right? Like, oh, nah, now's all right. I don't reckon the market's going to tank. Based on nothing other than what they see on the news, right? Or no, I can't get it. I'm too established in this job. I'm not going to be able to, go and get a new job because then I've got to restart reestablish myself and all that sort of thing. Yeah, at the sacrifice of you earning more money, at the sacrifice of you growing, in so many different areas. So, there's a lot of people that are just afraid to fail. They get that fear of failure, and then therefore they just stay stuck being content, or they're worried about what people will think. I was like that for a period of time before we started putting videos out there. Oh, I'm going to put this video out and, so-and-so that I don't give a shit about anyway, but yet for some reason I was still worried about what they would think. It's like, how do you figure that out? You're worried about someone that you don't care about, what they will think about you. Putting a video out there, or buying a property, or being a property investor, or being a business owner, having a crack, starting a business and just giving it a go. Yeah, fuck, it might fail. Who cares? They might laugh at you, but you're not going to know about it. Just give it a go, right? Thinking that you need You need to have more knowledge. Oh, I'm not smart enough to do that. I'm not smart enough to be a property investor. Right? I don't have the knowledge for that. Right? I used to have this in my career because I was, like I said, I was dropped out, didn't have any uni, but I was rubbing shoulders with some serious heavy hitting CEOs and COOs and, global executives, sitting in rooms with them. I remember there'd be times when I'd be laughing internally, being like, all these fucking people here, they have spent tens of thousands of dollars on bits of paper to get them into this room. And I somehow got in here without any of that shit. So you don't need to be really smart, or you don't need to have certain bits of knowledge to have a seat at the table at certain rooms. All right, whether that's you being a business owner, a property investor, or whatever. All right. You've just got to do it. Like, the drive will get you further than pretty much anything else if you've got that internal drive. So it's like, okay, if you're sitting there, you're like, yeah, cool, buddy. But like, this is a big mountain to climb, being a property investor or being a business owner. Like, how do I take the first step? And it's really just about breaking it down. Let's use property, right? This is a property investing podcast after all. You want to buy a property, where do you start? All right, so before you start researching seriously about areas, you need to know what your finances look like, right? How much extra cash have you actually got after you get paid? So the money comes in, the bills come out. What's left after that? Because that's your excess cash flow that you can then potentially put towards a property. And if there isn't any excess cash flow there, maybe, hey, you need to tighten up the budget a little bit and go, hey, I'm going to stop spending on this area or that area, on the discretionary spending, obviously. That's where you start. And then you go into, okay, now I know how much excess cash. Maybe then you start engaging with a broker. How much can I actually borrow based on my income and my debt levels, if you've got any credit cards and that sort of thing, which I recommend you get rid of if you're trying to build a portfolio. And then while that's happening, then you can start researching. So it's just going through these stages of making things happen for yourself. And you apply that same logic to anything, right? If you want to start a business, okay, doing the market research, understanding what competitors are out there at the moment, right? What service, how is your service going to be different? How much money do you have to invest in your business? Because a lot of businesses, despite what a lot of people would say out there online, these side hustles and all this type of stuff, they require money to start. All right, there's very little to no side hustles out there that you can start for free. So just breaking things down and understanding what small steps you can take, what small decisions you can take that will then compound over time to make big changes in your life. And one of the best things that I can recommend is when you are starting and moving through your, moving towards your goals, the very best thing you can do is stay consistent. That's the one trait that I really appreciate about myself. And I feel like I'm sort of self-gloating a little bit there, but like, I'm consistent every single fucking day, right? Like with the gym, for example, I'd started working out. I was really fit in school, was a big swimmer, and then obviously went through that stage I spoke to you about earlier in the potty, partying and doing all sorts of shit. Didn't go to the gym, didn't swim at all, did jack shit for years. Body started deteriorating, and I was a young kid at the time in my early 20s, right? And I remember looking in the mirror one day and I was like, fuck this, I can't. Look at you, man. You were like jacked in school. Now you're looking like this fucking twig, So I started I started going to the gym. And I thank God that I picked up going to the gym, because just doing that consistently every single week. I mean, there's been maybe a couple of weeks at a time, if you go away on a holiday, maybe you're sick or something, but pretty much for 10 years, maybe a little bit more now, I've been going to the gym consistently. And same thing with the business. Every single day, There's work to be done on the business, whether it's big things or small things, but every single day there's things that are being done. And that consistency, you start knocking down tasks over time, these little tasks, these little steps, that shit compounds big time. And the longer you do these little things consistently, the bigger the compounding effect over time is. So that's why I always say, just break down a big task into small steps, and over time, you will start to see some big results. And my property portfolio is a prime example of that. I was investing because I didn't want to work in that corporate 9-to-5 grind anymore. I'm not saying anything wrong with it. It just wasn't cool, wasn't good for me. And so that's why I started investing in property. And every single week, every single month, I was always just looking, okay, is there new bit of knowledge I can obtain? Can I borrow more based on my situation? What can I do? And then because I kept buying properties over a number of years, at the start, it just seemed like this huge thing. Oh, fuck, this is going to take 20 years to get to this position that I want. That 20 years turned out to be 5 years because I was consistent with it. I was driven. I never gave up, right? There were loads of times when the broker would say, hey, man, like you can't borrow. You're maxed out here, mate. You can't do shit. Well, the interest rates start going up and then they're like, oh, fuck, this whole thing's going to collapse now because I can't afford to hold the property. So many challenges. But through that repetition of knocking down these tasks every single day, you're able to move through them, all right? And then obviously, yes, there's tons of setbacks, but you can't let those setbacks be like, oh, well, it's some fuck now, like game over. No. You take those setbacks, you might have to cop one on the chin, you might be a little upset, you might even fucking cry, and that's okay. That's absolutely fine. So long as you pull your shit together and you bounce back. Maybe the next day, ideally, if not the next week. But we can't let these setbacks keep us down for too long. I let those setbacks keep me down for too long in my early 20s. And then it started infesting my brain with all of this bullshit narrative that I wasn't capable, that I wasn't good enough, that I was actually a dropkick. But through slow repetition and consistently over time of bettering my diet and my exercise, my mental health started to become a lot stronger. My physical health obviously started to become stronger as well. I started making more consistent, better choices. Before you know it, I'm getting promoted at work. I'm earning more income. I'm taking that income. I'm investing it. And then you're slowly building that stuff up over time. That's what consistency is all about. So ultimately, the life that you want and the life that you have now might be two different things. But if you really want it, and I mean really want it, you can absolutely have it. It's just a matter of, are you willing to just keep going? Are you willing to be consistent? Because if you are, then what might seem like a 20-year thing ahead of you, it's going to take you 20 years to get to that goal. If you can stay driven and you can stay consistent, just like me, that 20-year vision, you can probably shorten that to a much shorter timeline. Maybe 10 years, maybe 5 years, maybe even a couple of years, depending on how fucking driven you are, right? If you're sitting there and you're like, I want to be financially free, I don't want to have to fucking work anymore. Oh, but I'm only earning 50, 60, 70 grand a year. Sorry to say, man, you might need to hear this. Go and get another fucking job. Like, oh yeah, but I don't have the skill set. Oh, who's going to fucking hire me? I was the same. Go and get 2 jobs. And that might be shit to hear, but like, you'd rather hear it than say, oh no, it's okay. Yeah, you're right. Just keep doing your thing and it'll work out. No, fuck that. go and get it. Go and hunt for it if you really want it. Otherwise, be content and live the same life that you're living and be happy with that. There's nothing wrong with that either. It's just a matter of what choice that you want to make. And don't put excuses up in front. That's one thing that also I have really loved to learn about life is just taking responsibility for stuff. I was an absolute dickhead with some really dumb choices earlier in my life. But I own that. And I know the reason why I did those things. Am I proud of it? No. Can I change it now? No. But I don't make decisions like that anymore. Because I want to look back in 5, 10, 20 years from now and be like, man, I'm so happy those decisions I made in my 30s. Fuck yeah. You know what I mean? So take ownership of your own self and your own actions. Own it. Take accountability. And the life you want is out there. Hopefully you got some value out of that. I feel like it might have been a bit of a counseling session. I don't know, man. We'll see. I might even release this. I got to watch this back, see how we went. But if you're looking for help on your if you don't even need to. If you just want to have a fucking chat and you're out there and you're like, man, I'm fucking in this really bad position right now, and you want to just chat, reach out. Send us a DM on socials or whatever. I'm happy to just have a friggin' chat. If I can motivate one of you, that's all that I really care about. And obviously, if you want help building a property portfolio from scratch, even if your income, is you might not be too happy with your income. You might feel like you're not earning enough. You might feel like you don't have enough savings. We've got a team that can put together some pretty good solutions for a lot of people out there. Like we've helped a single mum earning 50 grand a year to get into the property game. Now, obviously, the types of properties we're going to have to find the right ones. Or hell, maybe you've got $1 million worth of borrowing. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just the thing. Like I was saying, if you've got the want to do it, we've got the solutions to make it happen. That's all we got time for today's episode. Hope you got some value out of that. If you did, drop a like on the video. It always helps. Or a comment as well. And like I said, I'm dead serious about that. If you want to chat, you want to get some motivation, reach out, man. We'll sort something out. But thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Smash Property Podcast. A little bit different. We may or may not release it depending on how the edit goes. But we'll be back very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, catch you soon.